Do not drink that. The words tore out of me before I had time to remember who was sitting at the table. My hand struck the glass from Luca Romano's fingers. It hit the stone floor and shattered beneath the amber lights of Bella Vista. Then everything stopped. 6 chairs scraped backward at once. Men in dark coats rose around the private dining room. One stepped between Luca and the door. Another turned toward the hallway. Gabriel Marchetti's hand moved beneath his jacket, but Luca lifted 2 tattooed fingers and every man froze. I stood there holding an empty serving tray against my chest, listening to my own breathing. Luca looked at the broken glass, then at me. He was bigger up close than he had seemed from across the restaurant. Broad shoulders beneath a black leather jacket. Charcoal shirt open at the throat. Ink climbed one side of his neck. A thin scar marked his jaw. His eyes were dark and frighteningly calm. "Why?" he asked. "That was not your glass." My voice sounded steadier than my hands felt. Nobody moved. "Explain." I swallowed. "The waiter who brought it switched it after I left the room." Gabriel glanced toward the doorway. "What waiter?" "Tall. Dark hair. Gray vest." "We do not have a gray vest," my manager whispered from the hall. Luca's gaze shifted to him. The man immediately stopped speaking. Luca looked back at me. "What else?" I could still see the stranger in my mind. The way he had kept his face turned from the security camera. The way he had removed Luca's original glass and replaced it with another from his tray. "He knew exactly where you were sitting." Luca lowered his eyes to the floor. His expression barely changed, but the room changed around him. Gabriel straightened. 2 men moved towards separate exits without being told. Luca gave one quiet order. "Lock the doors." The click from the hallway sounded louder than the glass breaking. My stomach tightened. "Wait. I work here." Luca turned toward me. "Nobody leaves until I know who walked into this room. You cannot lock customers inside." His men stared at me as if I had just argued with a thunderstorm. Luca did not raise his voice. "Gabriel, keep the dining room calm. Nobody touches her." Gabriel nodded. "Boss." That single word told me what everyone else apparently already knew. I had spent 6 months rebuilding my life after my mother died, working double shifts and trying to save enough money to return to nursing school. I thought exhaustion was the most dangerous thing waiting for me that night. I had been wrong. Luca stepped around the broken glass and stopped several feet from me. He did not touch me. "Claire Bennett." I stared at him. "How do you know my name?" His eyes dropped to the name tag pinned above my apron pocket. I read. Under different circumstances, I might have laughed. Instead, my fingers tightened around the tray. Gabriel returned holding a tablet. "Boss, we found him on camera." Luca turned the screen toward me. Grainy footage showed the gray-vested stranger entering through the employee hallway 23 minutes earlier. My breath caught. Luca noticed. "You recognize him?" I stared at the frozen face on the screen. 3 weeks earlier, that same man had sat alone in my section for almost 2 hours. He had ordered 1 coffee. He had tipped $20. And he had asked me one strange question before leaving. I looked up at Luca. He wanted to know which private room you always used. For 3 seconds, nobody spoke. Rain tapped softly against Bella Vista's front windows while Luca studied the frozen image on Gabriel's tablet. 3 weeks ago, he asked. Tuesday afternoon. Around 2. I set the tray down because my fingers had started to ache from gripping it. He sat in booth 9. 1 coffee. No food. He asked whether private parties used the same rooms every week. Gabriel looked at my manager. "Did she report it?" My manager shook his head. Heat climbed my face. "Because customers ask strange questions every day." I did not know I was supposed to identify people planning something against a man I had never met. Luca's eyes returned to me. "What exactly did you tell him?" "Nothing useful." I said private rooms changed depending on reservations. I paused. Then he asked which room had the least street noise. Gabriel's expression tightened. Luca gave him a small nod. Gabriel immediately walked away with 2 men. That was how Luca's world moved. No explanations. No repeated instructions. A glance. A door opening. Footsteps disappearing down the hall. 20 minutes later, the restaurant reopened. Luca had the customers quietly escorted out while his men remained near every entrance. I untied my apron. "I am going home." Luca stood beside the private room doorway. "Gabriel will drive you." "No," his eyebrow moved slightly. "No. I saved you from drinking something suspicious. I did not apply for surveillance. You are a witness. I am a waitress who noticed the wrong person carrying the wrong glass." Lucas stepped closer, stopping several feet away. That man came here before tonight and spoke directly to you. And now I know to call the police if I see him. Claire. Luca. One of his men looked at me and then quickly looked somewhere else. Luca's mouth almost changed. Almost. Take Gabriel. I have a car. Then he follows you. Also no. His eyes cooled. You are very comfortable saying that word. Actually, I am terrified. I just still mean it. Silence settled between us. Luca looked at my hands. They were trembling. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. Go home. Call this number if anything feels wrong. He placed a plain card on the table. No title. No company. Just a number. Anything. I asked. Anything. I left Bella Vista after midnight and drove my 12-year-old Honda through wet Chicago streets. No black SUV followed me. I checked twice. Luca had listened. That should have made me feel better. It did not. My apartment building looked exactly as I had left it that morning. Yellow hallway light. Chipped paint beside the mailboxes. Mrs. Adler's television murmuring through the wall upstairs. Ordinary. Safe. Mine. I climbed 2 flights and stopped. A white envelope lay beneath my door. My name was printed across the front. Not handwritten. Printed. I did not touch it. I called the number on Luca's card. He answered before the second ring. Claire, there is something outside my apartment. His voice changed instantly. Do not touch it. Step away from the door. Somewhere behind him, I heard chairs move. Then Gabriel's voice. Then an engine starting. Luca, I am here. How long? 8 minutes. 3 black SUVs reached my street in 6. Luca came through the entrance first with Gabriel and 4 men behind him. 2 immediately checked the stairwell. Another remained downstairs. Luca stopped beside me and looked at the envelope. Gabriel opened it carefully. Inside was a photograph. Me, standing beside Luca's table less than 2 hours earlier. On the back were 4 words. She should have stayed quiet. The photograph stayed on my kitchen table while Luca's men searched every room of my apartment. Nobody touched my things carelessly. They checked windows, the fire escape, the hallway. Gabriel stood near the front door speaking quietly into his phone while another man watched the street below. Luca remained beside me. His leather jacket was wet from the rain, and the ink across his hand disappeared beneath his sleeve when he folded his arms. You cannot stay here tonight, he said. That sounded like an order. It was. Then try again. Gabriel looked over. Luca ignored him. His jaw tightened. For several seconds, the only sound was rain against the glass. Will you let me take you somewhere secure? For tonight. 48 hours. I almost laughed. You negotiated yourself an extra day. Claire. His voice dropped. Someone photographed you inside a private room and reached your apartment before you did. I am not guessing about whether they come back. I looked around my tiny living room. Nursing textbooks still sat beneath the lamp where I had left them months ago. My mother's ceramic mug rested beside them. I had spent 6 months trying to make this place feel like mine again after losing her. Now strangers were checking its locks because I had knocked one glass from one man's hand. 48 hours, I said. My phone stays with me. I get my own room. My own key. Nobody listens to my calls. Nobody decides where I go afterward. Luca studied me. Anything else? You asked before making decisions about me. Gabriel suddenly became very interested in the hallway. Luca exhaled through his nose. Agreed. 20 minutes later, I sat inside the rear of a black SUV while Chicago slid past rain-streaked windows. Another SUV drove ahead. One followed behind. Gabriel sat in front. Luca sat across from me, silent beneath passing streetlights. His men changed lanes together without discussion. At the property outside the city, iron gates opened before our vehicle stopped. Guards stood beneath the covered entrance. One opened Luca's door. Another checked the road behind us. A third spoke quietly into an earpiece. Nobody asked Luca what to do. They watched him and already seemed to know. My room was upstairs with a lock on the inside. Luca handed me the key himself. Your door. You remembered. I said I would. Near 2 in the morning, I woke thirsty and followed a strip of warm light downstairs. I found Luca in the kitchen beside an elderly man wrapped in a gray robe. The same man who had made an entire restaurant freeze was measuring water into a glass and setting 2 prescription bottles beside it. You missed the midnight dose, Luca said. I was sleeping. That is not an excuse, Uncle Vincent. Vincent noticed me and smiled. So this is the girl. Luca went still. Drink your water. I hid a smile. For the first time, he looked less like the man surrounded by locked doors and more like someone's exhausted nephew. Then Gabriel entered carrying a tablet. The softness vanished from Luca's face. "Boss." We traced the phrase Claire remembered. I turned. "What phrase?" Gabriel looked at me. The fake waiter called the bartender Little Joey. I remembered it immediately. Gabriel continued. "Nobody outside our circle uses that name." Luca's tattooed hand slowly tightened around the back of a chair. "How small a circle?" Gabriel hesitated. 7 people. Luca looked toward the dark windows. "Names." Gabriel placed the tablet on the table. I leaned closer. 6 names meant nothing to me. The 7th did. I had seen it written across a reservation card at Bella Vista 3 weeks earlier. On the same afternoon, the stranger questioned me. Gabriel's voice lowered. "One of those 7 people is me." Gabriel did not move. Neither did Luca. The kitchen clock ticked above the refrigerator while Uncle Vincent quietly carried his water toward the hallway, apparently wise enough to know when family business stopped being family conversation. I stared at the tablet. That does not mean Gabriel did it. Luca's eyes stayed on his oldest friend. Nobody said it did. But something had changed. 2 guards appeared in the kitchen doorway. They had not been called. Gabriel noticed them too. "I will stay on the property," he said. Luca gave one slow nod. "Until we know." Gabriel placed his phone on the counter. "Understood." I looked between them. "You have known each other how long?" 14 years, Gabriel said. "And one nickname is enough to erase 14 years. Luca finally looked at me. "It is enough to ask questions. Then ask the right ones." His expression hardened. "You saved my life. That does not make you understand mine." The words landed harder than I expected. I folded my arms. "Then stop asking for my eyes only when they agree with yours." Silence. One guard glanced at the floor. The other suddenly found the rain outside fascinating. Luca stared at me until I could hear my pulse. Then he pulled out a chair. "Show me." I blinked. "What?" He turned the tablet toward me. "You think something is wrong. Show me." I sat. Gabriel remained standing across the table while I studied the records. Entry times. Staff schedules. Camera logs. Bella Vista reservations. My nursing textbooks had taught me to look for patterns before conclusions. Restaurant work had taught me something similar. People lied. Routines usually did not. I found the first inconsistency 12 minutes later. "Here." Luca leaned closer without touching me. I pointed to the timestamp. "This says the employee entrance opened at 11:48. "Correct," Gabriel said. "Bella Vista locks that entrance at 11:30 on weeknights. After that, staff leave through the kitchen door because the alarm changes zones." Luca's gaze sharpened. Could someone override it? Management could. But then there would be an alarm record. Gabriel reached for the tablet, then stopped when one guard shifted. The movement was small. Gabriel's face changed anyway. Luca saw it. "Let him see it," I said. Luca looked at me. "Claire, if you want the truth, stop treating the person who understands your security system best like he is already guilty." Another long silence. Then Luca nodded. The guard stepped back. Gabriel took the tablet. That was the first time I saw Luca choose restraint when every instinct in the room seemed built around control. Gabriel scrolled quickly. "She is right. There is no override record." "So the timestamp was altered?" I asked. "Possibly." Luca pulled another chair beside mine. His tattooed hand rested on the table, close enough that I noticed a pale scar crossing one knuckle. "Keep looking." We worked until the windows turned gray with approaching dawn. At 5:16, Gabriel found a second discrepancy. A security login connected to his name had been used while camera footage showed him entering Luca's SUV nearly 12 miles away. Someone had not merely leaked information. Someone was building a trail toward Gabriel. Luca stared at the screen. His jaw tightened. "Someone wants me to believe you betrayed me." Gabriel nodded once. "Yes." I should have felt relieved. Instead, I remembered the reservation card from 3 weeks earlier. I reached for the restaurant records and searched the 7th name from Gabriel's list. There it was. Marco DeSantis. Private room request. Same afternoon. Same hour. Luca saw my face. "What?" I turned the tablet toward him. "Gabriel was not the only person from your circle at Bella Vista that day. Marco DeSantis had reserved private room 3 at Bella Vista under his own name, which either made him innocent or very confident." Lucas stared at the reservation record while Dawn pressed a thin gray line against the kitchen windows. "Marco has been with me 9 years," he said. Gabriel gave a humorless breath. Apparently longevity is having a difficult morning. Luca ignored that. I enlarged the reservation details. Wait. My eyes caught something small beneath the booking notes. VIP West Entrance. I shook my head. That is wrong. Luca looked at me. What is? Bella Vista does not call it the West Entrance. Staff call it the service entrance. Management calls it the private entrance. Nobody who works there writes West Entrance. Gabriel leaned over the table. Who does? Someone looking at a floor plan. The room went quiet. Luca's tattooed fingers tapped once against the wood. So whoever created these records knew the building from the outside and wanted the paperwork to look official, I said. Gabriel opened another file. The altered security log used the same phrase. Luca's eyes hardened. He stood. Immediately, the guards at the doorway straightened. Find out who accessed building plans. Quietly, one man nodded and disappeared. Nobody contacts Marco. Another nod. Another door closing. I watched Luca command the room with 6 words and wondered how a man could make silence feel heavier than shouting. Then my phone vibrated. Once. I almost ignored it. The number was unknown. I opened the message. A photograph filled the screen. My apartment building. Taken that morning. Beneath it were 7 words. Go home alone or someone else pays. My throat tightened. Claire, Lucas said. I locked the screen. Nothing. My manager asking about tonight. His gaze stayed on me a second too long. I hated lying. I hated the reason more. If whoever sent it was watching Lucas people, refusing might put Mrs. Adler or someone at Bella Vista in danger. I needed distance. I needed to think without 6 armed-looking men reading every breath I took. I need a shower, I said. Luca nodded. Get some sleep. Upstairs, I packed only my purse, coat, and apartment keys. My hands shook as I slipped through the small side door beside the laundry room. No guard stood there because the property was designed to keep strangers out, not guests in. Cold morning air hit my face. I walked half a mile before ordering a rideshare from a gas station. By the time the car arrived, guilt sat like a stone beneath my ribs. Luca had kept every boundary I demanded. I had answered by disappearing. Back at the house, my absence lasted 11 minutes before Luca noticed. I knew because my phone rang. I let it ring. Again. Again. Then a message appeared. Claire, answer me. I stared at it until another arrived. Please. That word stopped me. Luca Romano did not sound like a man who used it often. I almost called. Then the driver turned onto my street. A dark sedan waited across from my apartment. The same shape I remembered from the night before. My pulse jumped. Do not stop, I told the driver. At that exact moment, my phone lit again, but this time it was not Luca. Another photograph appeared. Luca standing in his kitchen, looking at the empty chair where I had been sitting. The picture had been taken minutes ago from inside the guarded property. I forgot how to breathe. The threat was not only outside Luca's gates. Someone was already behind them. I called Luca before the rideshare reached the next intersection. He answered on the first ring. Where are you? No greeting. No anger. Just those 3 words, low and controlled. Someone is inside your property. Silence. Then movement exploded through the phone. A door opened. Gabriel shouted something in the distance. Luca's voice turned colder. Explain. They sent me a photograph of you in the kitchen. It was taken after I left. You left because they contacted you. It was not a question. I closed my eyes. Yes. Send me everything. Luca, there is a sedan outside my building. His next breath went quiet. Tell the driver not to stop. Already did. Good. Stay in the car. Stay on the main streets. I am coming. Behind him, I heard footsteps. Then one command. Bring the cars. Engine started somewhere beyond the phone. I sent him the messages and photographs. 30 seconds later, Gabriel called me from another number and kept me talking while Luca's convoy moved toward the city. I watched storefronts slide past the window. Coffee shops. A pharmacy. People carrying grocery bags. My normal world continued as if nothing had changed. Claire, Gabriel said. The photograph from the house was taken through the kitchen window. So someone was outside? Inside the security perimeter. My stomach tightened. How? That is what we are finding out. The sedan appeared 2 blocks behind us. Gabriel. I know. We see it. A black SUV turned onto the avenue ahead. Then another. Luca's convoy did not surround us dramatically. His men moved with frightening efficiency, placing vehicles between my rideshare and the sedan while leaving traffic flowing. The sedan turned away at the next light. My driver stared into his mirror. Ma'am, who are these people? I had no answer that sounded reasonable. Luca's SUV stopped beside us near a busy coffee shop. He stepped out before Gabriel could open his door. Black jacket, dark shirt, tattoos visible across one hand. For men spread across the sidewalk without blocking pedestrians. Luca opened my door, then stopped himself before reaching for me. May I? 2 words. That was all. I nodded. His hand closed around mine just long enough to help me out. Then he released it. You lied to me, he said quietly. I thought leaving would protect everyone else. You do not protect people by disappearing. Neither do you by controlling them. His jaw tightened. Then he looked away. Fair. That surprised me more than anger would have. Gabriel approached with my phone in his hand. We found something in the metadata from the photograph. Luca turned. What? The image was transmitted through the guest house network. Luca went completely still. Which access point? The West Security Office. Who was assigned there? Gabriel hesitated. Daniel Russo. Luca's eyes narrowed. Marco transferred Daniel onto my property 6 months ago. The city noise seemed to fade. I remembered the reservation card. Marco's name. The strange wording. The fake records. Pieces that had looked separate suddenly touched. Luca. He looked at me. Marco knew your route to Bella Vista, did he not? Gabriel answered instead. Every Tuesday. And he knew Gabriel's nickname for the bartender. Neither man spoke. And he placed Daniel inside your security team. Luca's face became unreadable. His phone vibrated. He checked the screen. One of his men had sent a photograph of a coffee shop receipt recovered from the gray-vested stranger's abandoned coat. Luca handed it to me. The receipt was 3 weeks old. 2 coffees. One name printed beneath the loyalty account. Marco DeSantis. I looked up. Luca was already watching me. He did not just know about the plan. I whispered. He built it. By noon, Luca had turned the guest house into a place where even silence seemed to report to him. 3 black SUVs waited beyond the iron gates. Guards rotated between doors. Phones vibrated across the long dining table. Gabriel stood at Luca's right, while 2 men reviewed security records without raising their voices. Marco DeSantis had not been contacted. Not yet. Luca wanted facts before confrontation. I watched him from the kitchen doorway and realized restraint looked harder on him than anger. Claire. His voice pulled me back. You should leave Chicago for a while. I stared at him. There it is. There what is? The order disguised as concern. His eyes narrowed. Someone threatened you because of me. Then help me stay safe. Do not erase me from my own life. Gabriel quietly stepped away from the table. Luca noticed. You enjoy abandoning me during these conversations. Immensely, Gabriel said. It was the first time I heard Luca almost laugh. Almost. Then he looked at me again. What do you want? The question surprised both of us. I want to go back to Bella Vista. I want my apartment checked. I want to return to nursing school when this is over. And I want to decide when I leave this city. Luca held my gaze. His tattooed hand rested against the chair, fingers slowly loosening. All right. 2 words. No argument. No command. Something inside my chest shifted. Not trust. Not yet. But the beginning of it. Gabriel returned with a folder. We confirmed the receipt. Marco's loyalty account purchased both coffees. We also traced Daniel's transfer request. Marco signed it. Luca opened the folder. His face gave nothing away. And the altered records. Created from an external terminal, then routed through Gabriel's credentials. Gabriel paused. Marco had access. Luca closed the folder. The sound was soft. Every man in the room looked toward him. Bring Marco in. Nobody asked why. 2 men left immediately. I stepped closer. What happens when he gets here? You will not be here. Luca, that one is not negotiable. You just asked what I wanted. And I listened. His voice lowered. Listening does not require me to pretend danger is harmless. I hated that he had a point. Then where? Bella Vista. Public room. Gabriel stays with you. Gabriel raised an eyebrow. Apparently, I am trusted again. Luca looked at him. Do not make me regret it. An hour later, Bella Vista smelled like coffee and fresh bread instead of fear. Customers filled the front room. Gabriel sat 2 booths away while 2 of Luca's men blended badly into lunch traffic. I was carrying menus when my manager handed me an old envelope. This was in the office mailbox 3 weeks ago. I forgot about it. My name was written across the front. Inside was a coffee shop receipt. Same date, same location. But beneath it was a handwritten note from the gray-vested stranger. Asked the waitress about Romano's room. My skin went cold. I called Luca. He answered immediately. Claire, Marco was not only watching you. I stared at the note. He was testing me before that night. Silence. Then Luca said, Gabriel, get her out. I looked toward the entrance. Gabriel was already standing. The front door opened. Marco DeSantis walked inside alone. He saw me, smiled faintly, then said, Claire Bennett, Luca was right about you. Marco's smile frightened me more than anger would have. It was calm, familiar, the smile of a man entering a restaurant where he believed every important move had already been made. Gabriel stepped between us. Two of Luca's men shifted from separate tables toward the doors. Customers kept talking, unaware that the air around us had changed. You should leave, Gabriel said. Marco glanced at him. Still playing the loyal brother? Still pretending you are one? The smile disappeared. My phone vibrated in my hand. Luca, I am here, I whispered. Stay near Gabriel. Behind his voice came engines and doors closing. 5 minutes. Marco watched my face. He is coming. I said nothing. Of course he is. That was always Luca's weakness. He thinks protecting someone means he owns the outcome. My fingers tightened around the old receipt. You do not know him as well as you think. Marco almost laughed. You have known him for days. Long enough to know you wanted him angry. That stopped him. I lifted the receipt. You framed Gabriel because you knew betrayal would make Luca stop asking questions. Marco's eyes moved toward the paper. There. One glance. Too fast. But I saw it. You wanted everyone around him suspicious of everyone else. I continued. Then you would become the one man he could still trust. The restaurant door opened. Conversation faded before Luca took 3 steps inside. Black coat, dark shirt, ink visible above his collar and across his hand. 4 men entered behind him while 2 remained outside. Nobody announced him. Nobody needed to. Marco turned. Luca stopped 10 feet away. Gabriel. She is safe. Luca's eyes found mine first. Only then did he look at Marco. You used my people. My routes. My house. Marco shrugged. You built a kingdom that survives because people fear disappointing you. I only showed them where fear leads. Luca's jaw tightened. His hands closed. Around him, men waited. Nobody moved. Marco stepped closer. Go ahead. Prove me right. Luca's face changed. For one terrible second, I saw the man everyone else saw. The cold eyes. The scar. The silence before an order. Then I remembered Uncle Vincent's medicine. Luca asking before taking my hand. The gate he had opened when I demanded a choice. I stepped beside him. Not behind him. Luca. He did not look at me. Whatever you choose next is the man you wake up as tomorrow. Silence stretched across the room. His fist remained closed. Then slowly, finger by finger, it opened. Luca looked at Gabriel. Give everything to the attorney. Security records. Messages. Photographs. All of it. Marco's expression finally cracked. That is it. Luca's voice was almost quiet. No. That is consequence without becoming you. Gabriel nodded and moved away to make the call. Luca's men remained still, waiting, but there was no spectacle. No revenge. Only evidence, witnesses, and a door Marco could no longer control. Luca turned toward me. The fury had left his face, replaced by something heavier. You should have stayed away. Probably. You never listen. Neither do you. His eyes held mine. Then his voice softened. I am trying. I looked at the man who could silence a room without raising his voice and realized something had shifted between us. That first night, I had knocked danger from his hand. Today, he had done something harder. He had put down the part of himself that danger had taught him to become. 3 months later, the sound that woke me most mornings was no longer a phone vibrating with threats. It was my alarm at 6:15, followed by the radiator clicking inside my apartment and the coffee maker struggling through another pot before nursing classes. Bella Vista still gave me weekend shifts. My textbooks had returned to the table beside my mother's ceramic mug. Marco's scheme had ended in conference rooms, evidence files, attorneys, and consequences I did not need to witness. Gabriel remained beside Luca, although he now joked that surviving Luca's suspicion should qualify him for paid vacation. Luca remained Luca. He did not become harmless because I cared about him. Black SUVs still appeared outside buildings before he entered. Men in dark coats still watched doors. His phone still rang after midnight. Tattoos still disappeared beneath charcoal sleeves. Rooms still grew quieter when he walked through them. The difference was smaller and somehow more important. With me, he knocked. He asked. He waited. One cold evening, I walked out of class carrying 2 textbooks against my chest and saw a black SUV parked beneath a street lamp. Lucas stood beside it alone, although I spotted Gabriel farther down the block, pretending not to watch us. Luca wore a black coat, his hands uncovered despite the cold. "You are late," he said. "That sounds dangerously close to an order." Observation. Better. I stopped several feet from him. He opened the passenger door, but did not gesture for me to enter. That made me smile. What happens if I say no? His eyes stayed on mine. Months earlier, that question would have tightened every muscle in his face. Now he answered immediately. I go home. No argument. Probably several arguments with myself. I laughed softly. He did not. He simply waited. The city moved around us. Tires whispered over wet pavement. Somewhere behind me, students hurried toward the train. Luca could have commanded almost anyone standing on that street. Yet he stood there asking nothing from me that I had not freely chosen to give. "Then ask me," I said. His expression shifted. "Barely. Will you come with me?" I looked at the open door, then at him. "Yes." His hand lifted as if he meant to touch my cheek, then stopped halfway. That hesitation mattered more than the gesture. I closed the distance myself and placed my hand in his. His fingers tightened gently around mine. No ownership, no command, just an answer. I had once believed saving someone happened in a single dramatic second, when instinct moved faster than fear. I had been wrong. Sometimes saving someone meant refusing to let fear make their choices. Sometimes protection meant opening a door instead of locking one. And sometimes love began when 2 wounded people stopped trying to control what came next and simply chose to walk toward it together. Luca could command everyone around him. He could make rooms fall silent and doors close with a glance. But he had learned that my trust could never be ordered. It had to be earned. Thank you for spending this story with us. If it stayed with you, please subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who believes courage can change even the hardest heart. Because sometimes the strongest empire is not built through fear. Sometimes it begins when 2 people finally choose each other.